His ribs cracked under my fist. A sickening snap, a choked gasp. Ray's body crumpled against the floor, his hands clawing at his chest as he struggled to breathe. I stood over him, chest heaving, knuckles raw from the impact. Emma screamed behind me. "Liam, stop." I ignored her. My blood boiled. My vision blurred with rage. Ray coughed, spitting blood onto the carpet of my bedroom, the same bedroom where I had just found him tangled in the sheets with my wife. My uncle. My blood. My betrayal. His mouth moved, trying to say something, but I didn't care. I grabbed him by the collar and slammed his head against the nightstand. The lamp crashed to the floor, shattering. Emma shrieked again, yanking at my arm. "You're crazy. Let him go." I spun to face her, breathing hard. She looked at me with wide eyes, not full of guilt, not even regret, but irritation. Like I was ruining her night. I pointed at the bed, at the mess of sheets where she had just been betraying me. "How long?" My voice was hoarse. Emma scoffed, rolling her eyes. Rolling her eyes. "Oh my God, Liam," she groaned. "Does it even matter?" I saw red. My fingers twitched, fists aching to hit something again, but it wouldn't change anything. Nothing would. Emma stood there, still wrapped in the sheet, her arms crossed, her face twisted in annoyance, like I was the problem here. Ray groaned on the floor, barely conscious, his hand weakly pressing against his ribs. I should have felt satisfied. After all, I'd beaten him to the edge of passing out, but it wasn't enough. Not even close. The room felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in, suffocating me with the stench of betrayal. My wife. My uncle. In my bed. I backed away, my chest heaving, my skin crawling. Emma sighed loudly, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "So what now?" she muttered, as if she was bored of this conversation. That snapped something in me. "What now?" I repeated, voice hollow. "What now?" My laugh was dry, humorless. "You think this is just some argument? You think I'm gonna walk out of here and come back like nothing happened?" She shrugged. She shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first time a guy forgave his wife for cheating," she said, inspecting her nails like this was just some minor inconvenience. "You could just be a man about it and move on." My jaw tightened so hard it hurt. I turned away, running both hands through my hair, pacing like a caged animal. Move on? Like this was some kind of childish mistake? Like she hadn't just destroyed everything? Ray groaned again, shifting slightly. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. He tried to sit up but collapsed back down with a pained grunt. I wanted to kill him. I really did. But what would that change? Would that make me feel better? Would it erase the image of him on top of my wife? Would it take away the sound of their laughter, the giggles I had heard before I opened that door? No. Nothing would. "You were supposed to be different," I muttered, more to myself than to her. Emma snorted. "Different? Liam, wake up. Marriage is a game. You just lost." I snapped my head toward her. "A game?" She lifted an eyebrow. "Yeah. You thought you could work your long hours, come home exhausted, barely talk to me, and I was just supposed to sit here and wait? I have needs, Liam." I took a slow step forward. Her confidence flickered just for a second. "Needs," I echoed. She rolled her eyes. "Don't act like you don't know what I mean." "Right," I nodded slowly, licking my lips. "So your solution was to sleep with my uncle? Not some random guy in my family?" Emma exhaled loudly like she was tired of this conversation. "Ray was there for me. You weren't." I turned to Ray, who was still gasping like a dying animal, and something clicked in my head. The rage, the betrayal, it all funneled into something colder. Sharper. I leaned down, gripping his face roughly, forcing him to look at me. His pupils were blown wide, whether from pain or fear, I didn't care. "You're a dead man," I whispered. "I swear on everything, you're done." His lips parted, a weak plea forming, but I let go of him roughly. He collapsed back against the floor with a pained hiss. Emma let out an exaggerated sigh. "Oh my God, enough with the drama. He's not dead. You had your little temper tantrum, congrats. What now? You gonna call the cops? Tell mommy what Uncle Ray did?" I stared at her, this stranger in my wife's skin, and realized something. She didn't think I'd actually leave. She thought this was just an argument. That I'd get angry, yell, maybe punch a few more holes in the wall, but in the end, I'd stay. Because that's what I always did. I wasn't stupid. I knew Emma. She wasn't just cruel, she was manipulative. She knew exactly how to twist things, how to make herself the victim. She'd done it before, making me feel guilty for fights that she had started. She knew the right words to say, the right tears to fake. But not this time. I forced a breath, let my heartbeat slow. My vision cleared. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me crumble. "You're right," I said suddenly, voice calm. Emma blinked. "Ha!" I nodded, rubbing my jaw. "You're absolutely right. This isn't a big deal. People cheat all the time, right? She squinted at me, suspicion creeping into her eyes. Yeah? I forced a smirk, shoving my hands into my pockets. So you won't care if I go grab a few beers with the guys, huh? Maybe crash at a friend's place? Emma frowned. What? You're leaving? I shrugged. Just for the night. Need some air. She tilted her head, studying me like she didn't trust the shift in my tone. Good. She shouldn't. Whatever, she finally muttered. Go sulk somewhere else. I gave Ray one last glance, his bruised, pathetic face, and walked out the door. I wasn't just leaving for the night. I was never coming back. I walked out, closing the door behind me, but the weight in my chest didn't lift. My fist still ached from the impact, my jaw clenched so hard it felt like my teeth would crack. The hallway was dark, the only light coming from the street lamp outside. Everything felt distant, like I was watching my own life from behind a screen. The house, my house, suddenly felt like a trap, like the walls had absorbed all the betrayal, the filth, the lies. I needed to get out before I did something worse. Emma thought this was just a tantrum, that I'd cool off, come back, and maybe we'd fight a little more before she found a way to manipulate the situation. But she didn't know what was going through my head. She had no idea that this wasn't just anger. It was war. I grabbed my car keys off the counter, my hands shaking. The sound of laughter echoed in my mind, the giggles I had heard before opening the bedroom door. My stomach twisted. That sound used to be mine. Now it belonged to Ray, a man I had trusted, who had sat across from me at every holiday meal, who had given me life advice like he wasn't the lowest piece of trash on earth. I stepped outside, the cold air slamming into me like a punch to the gut. It smelled fresh, unlike the suffocating betrayal still lingering inside. My feet moved automatically, taking me to my car. I slid inside, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My breath was ragged, uneven. I had to think. Driving felt automatic. The streets blurred past, my brain trying to process everything at once. Every mile I put between myself and that house helped, but the sickness in my gut stayed. Emma's voice echoed in my head, that dismissive scoff, the sheer audacity she had to act like I was the problem. Like she was justified. My phone buzzed in the passenger seat. I ignored it at first, but it buzzed again. And again. I grabbed it. Emma. Emma, 9:12 p.m. Seriously? You just left? Grow up. Emma, 9:14 p.m. You're acting like a little kid. Come back and talk like an adult. Emma, 9:16 p.m. If you think I'm chasing after you, you're dumber than I thought. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that filled the empty car. Chase after me? She had already run so far in the opposite direction that there was nothing left to chase. The phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't Emma. It was Mark, my best friend. Mark, 9:18 p.m. Bro, you good? No. I wasn't good. I wasn't even close. But I didn't want to talk. Not yet. I pulled into an empty parking lot, shutting off the engine. Silence wrapped around me, heavy, suffocating. The reality of it all settled in, the weight pressing down so hard it felt like my ribs would crack under it. My marriage was over. There was no fixing this. Not after what I had seen, what I had heard. Emma wasn't sorry. She wasn't crying, begging, saying it was a mistake. No, she was angry at me. Annoyed that I had ruined her fun. Like I was just an obstacle in her life instead of the man who had given her everything. I leaned back in my seat, staring at the roof of my car. A plan started forming in my head, piece by piece. I wasn't going to be the guy who just walked away, who let her get away with this like it was nothing. No. Emma wanted to play games? She was about to learn that I wasn't the type to lose. I grabbed my phone again, this time dialing a number I hadn't used in a while. Hello? The voice on the other end was groggy, like I had woken him up. Jason, I said, my voice steady for the first time since the nightmare began. I need a favor. Jason was the kind of guy who solved problems. The kind of guy who knew people, lawyers, private investigators, anyone who could make sure Emma and Ray paid for what they did. There was a pause. Then, what kind of favor? I exhaled slowly, gripping the phone tighter. The kind that ends a marriage. And ruins a life. Jason chuckled, low and dark. Damn, Liam. What the hell happened? I hesitated just for a second. Saying it out loud would make it even more real. But the words came out like poison anyway. My wife cheated on me. Jason let out a low whistle. That's rough, man. With my uncle. Silence. Then, oh hell no. Yeah. I ran a hand through my hair. So, you still got that lawyer friend? Jason laughed. Oh, I got way more than that. You want a clean break, or you want her to suffer? I didn't even have to think about it. Both. Good, Jason said. Because I know exactly where to start. I ended the call, my heartbeat finally slowing. The rage was still there, but it wasn't wild and uncontrollable anymore. It was focused. Sharp. Emma thought she had one. She thought I'd crawl back, broken, easy to manipulate. She had no idea what was coming. The night stretched on, but I wasn't tired. Sleep was impossible. Betrayal had a way of keeping a man wide awake. My car sat idle in the parking lot, the glow of the dashboard the only light in the darkness. The phone call with Jason played on repeat in my head. I hadn't hesitated. Not for a second. Emma wanted to play dirty? I could go lower. I started making calls. Not just to Jason's lawyer friend, but to people I knew from work, guys who understood how to dig for dirt. If Emma thought I was going to be the heartbroken husband who walked away with nothing, she was dead wrong. I found a cheap motel and checked in, tossing my phone onto the bed. The room smelled like stale cigarettes, but I didn't care. I sat at the edge of the mattress, staring at nothing, my fists still tight. The image of Emma's bored expression, her dismissive scoff, her utter lack of remorse, it all burned into my brain. She didn't just cheat. She enjoyed the betrayal. She mocked me for it. My phone buzzed again. I checked the screen. More messages from Emma. Emma, 10:22 p.m. Are you done being dramatic? Emma, 10:45 p.m. I'm not gonna beg you to come back. If you want to throw away our marriage over one mistake, that's on you. Emma, 11:10 p.m. Whatever. You're acting like a child. I chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. One mistake? That's what she was calling it? I scrolled up, reading the earlier messages again. Her tone hadn't changed once. No apologies. No guilt. Just arrogance. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could reply, throw insults, tell her exactly what I thought of her. But why waste my breath? I called Jason instead. He picked up on the first ring. You ready? He asked. Yeah, I said. What's first? Jason exhaled through the speaker. The lawyer's already looking into everything, joint accounts, assets, anything she might try to take. But listen, Liam, if you really want to ruin her, you gotta think bigger. You need leverage. I leaned back against the headboard, rubbing my temple. What do you have in mind? Proof, Jason said. Concrete proof of the affair. Something you can use against her in court, with friends, family, hell, even at her job if you want. I thought back to the night before. The sheets, the scent of cologne that wasn't mine, the way they scrambled when I walked in. It was burned into my memory, but memories wouldn't hold up in court. I walked in on them, I said. That's good, Jason replied. But not enough. You need photos, texts, videos, something undeniable. I clenched my jaw. Evidence. Proof that she wasn't just a liar, but a serial liar. Jason continued, we can get a PI to tail her, see if she's still sneaking around. But I have a feeling this wasn't a one-time thing, Liam. If she was bold enough to bring your uncle into your house, into your bed, she's been reckless before. There's more out there. He was right. Emma wasn't the type to suddenly start cheating out of nowhere. She had practice. I exhaled slowly. Get the PI on it. I want everything. You got it, Jason said. And Liam, don't let her see this coming. I smirked. Oh, she won't. After hanging up, I sat in silence for a moment. The anger wasn't as wild anymore. It was sharper, colder. I wasn't just mad. I was planning. Emma thought she had me figured out. She thought I'd react emotionally, make mistakes, say things in the heat of the moment. That's what she wanted, to twist my reactions against me. To paint herself as the victim. But she didn't realize that I was done playing by her rules. I grabbed my phone again, this time opening our shared bank account. I needed to see if she had been funneling money somewhere else, if she had been planning to leave me first. I scrolled through the transactions. Most of them looked normal, groceries, bills, gas. But then I saw it. Multiple hotel charges. Expensive ones. My heart pounded as I clicked on the details. The dates lined up too perfectly, nights when I had been working late, weekends when she had claimed to be visiting her sister. Lies. All of it. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't a mistake. She had been cheating for a long, long time. And I was about to tear her world apart. The more I stared at those hotel charges, the clearer everything became. Emma hadn't slipped up once, she had been slipping up for months, maybe even years. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was dealing with a habitual liar. And habitual liars always got too comfortable. I called Jason back. She's been using our money for hotel rooms, I said, my voice steady. Jason whistled. Damn. How much are we talking? Enough. I scrolled through the transactions, my stomach turning. She was never careful. She never thought I'd check. She thought you were stupid, Jason corrected. And that's good. Because that means she won't see this coming. A plan was forming in my head, fast and clear. Emma thought she could manipulate me, gaslight me, make me feel like I was the crazy one. But what happens when the person you underestimate turns out to be 10 steps ahead? We need to catch her in the act again, I said. But this time I want proof. Jason chuckled. Oh, I like where this is going. I booked a room at the same hotel Emma had been frequenting, requesting one directly across from the room she had used last. Jason had already hired the PI who was now tailing her, tracking her movements. I wanted dates, times, receipts, everything. If she thought she could erase her mistakes, she was about to find out just how permanent they could be. By the next evening, Jason sent me a text. Jason, 8:32 p.m. She just checked in. Room 214. I was already parked outside the hotel, my heart steady. The anger I had felt before was still there, but now it was controlled, calculated. I walked in like I belonged there, nodding at the receptionist as I headed to my own room. Once inside, I placed my phone on the nightstand, camera positioned toward the door. If she left, I'd know. If someone else arrived, I'd know. And I didn't have to wait long. At 9:06 p.m., the elevator dinged. My door was cracked open just enough to see him step out. Ray. My own blood, strolling into her room like he had every right to be there. Something inside me snapped. But I didn't move. Not yet. I let them get comfortable. Let them believe they were safe. I waited until the faint sounds of laughter, hers, drifted through the walls. Then I walked out. I reached their door, my pulse steady. And with one brutal kick, I sent it flying open. Emma's shriek filled the room. Ray jumped off the bed, eyes wide, scrambling for his clothes. I stepped inside, shutting the door behind me. You really thought I wouldn't catch you again? My voice was calm, but my hands itched to break something. Emma, wrapped in nothing but a thin sheet, crossed her arms. No shame. No fear. Just a slow, annoyed sigh. Oh my God, Liam, she groaned. Are we really doing this again? I laughed, cold and bitter. You tell me, Emma. How many times have you done this behind my back? She rolled her eyes. Does it matter? I took a step forward. Yeah, it matters. Ray raised his hands. Liam, man, just... I punched him before he could finish. His body slammed into the dresser, knocking over a lamp. Emma screamed, jumping off the bed. Ray groaned, clutching his jaw. You psycho. I grabbed him by the collar, shoving him against the wall. You stole from me, Ray. Not just my wife, but my trust. His face twisted with panic. It wasn't like that. I tightened my grip. You think I don't know about the other times? The other hotels? The money she spent on you? Ray's eyes darted to Emma. She went pale. Gotcha. Ray started, voice shaking. You said you paid for those. Emma said nothing. She just stood there, silent for the first time. I grinned. Oh, Ray. You really thought she cared about you? Realization hit him like a slap. He looked at her, his face twisting with something close to betrayal. Emma glared at me. You're pathetic, Liam. I dropped Ray, stepping toward her. No, Emma. You are. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. With a tap, I played the recording of their voices, captured just moments before I kicked the door in. Laughter. Kissing. Plans. Emma's face drained of color. I have proof now, I said. And tomorrow, my lawyer will too. Ray exhaled sharply. Liam, listen, I turned to him, smiling coldly. Oh, you're gonna listen, Ray. Because I'm pressing charges for every dollar you helped her steal from me. His mouth opened, then closed. He looked at Emma, then back at me. And then, like the coward he was, he grabbed his clothes and bolted. Emma, however, stayed. She crossed her arms again, her lips pressing into a thin line. You think this scares me? I laughed. No, Emma. I think it ruins you. Because this wasn't just about the affair. This was about taking everything back. And I wasn't stopping until I did. Emma stood there, arms crossed, eyes filled with that same infuriating arrogance. No guilt, no shame, just the look of a woman who thought she still had control over the situation. But she didn't. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. You've already lost, Emma. You just don't know it yet. She scoffed. Lost what? You. A laugh. Please. You're just embarrassing yourself. I smirked. No, I'm embarrassing you. I turned the phone screen toward her. The recording was still playing, loud and clear. Her voice, Ray's voice, their disgusting little secrets. Every moan, every whispered insult about me, it was all there, saved, permanent. Her face twisted. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? I tilted my head. Because it sure seems like you assumed I'd just roll over and cry while you stomped all over me. Emma's bravado cracked, just slightly. What do you even want, Liam? What do I want? I repeated. I want my life back. I want my dignity back. And I want to watch you lose everything, piece by piece, just like you did to me. She clenched her jaw. You're so dramatic. I chuckled, shaking my head. Oh, Emma. You're gonna wish I was just being dramatic. She rolled her eyes. What, you think you can destroy me with one little recording? You have nothing. I took another step forward, lowering my voice to a whisper. I have everything. And I did. The PI had been thorough. Not only had he gathered proof of Emma's other affairs, because of course Ray wasn't the only one, but he had also uncovered something else. Something much bigger. Money. Missing money. Emma had been skimming from our joint account for years. At first, it was little things, shopping sprees disguised as household expenses. But then there were withdrawals, large ones, funneled into an account she thought I'd never find. Too bad I had. I pulled out another phone, this time showing a screenshot of a bank statement. You recognize this account number? Emma's expression barely flickered, but I saw it, that split-second hesitation, that flicker of fear. She tried to play it off. I don't know what that is. Lying again? I'd scared. Emma, you really need some new tricks. Her shoulders squared. Even if I did move money around, what are you gonna do about it? You can't prove anything. I grinned. That's where you're wrong. Because I could. Jason's lawyer friend had already drafted the paperwork. Emma's little secret stash? It wasn't so secret anymore. And once the divorce proceedings started, she was going to have to explain every penny. I could see her trying to calculate, trying to figure a way out. But there wasn't one. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, I cut her off. Here's how this is gonna go, I said, voice calm firm. You're going to sign the divorce papers. No arguments, no drawn-out battles. You're going to walk away with whatever I decide you get. And if you don't, I gestured to my phone. This recording goes public. Your boss hears it. Your friends hear it. Hell, your parents hear it. Her eyes flared. You wouldn't. I leaned in just enough to make sure she felt the truth in my words. I would. She swallowed hard. Silence stretched between us, heavy, suffocating. Then she tried one last move. Her face softened. Her eyes glistened, and for the first time all night, her voice trembled. Liam, please? We don't have to do this. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. I almost laughed. Almost. The performance was flawless. If I hadn't known better, I might have believed it. But I did know better. You don't get to cry now, Emma. My voice was ice. Not after everything. Not after the mocking, the lies, the way you looked me in the eye and told me it didn't even matter. She blinked rapidly, still trying. I was scared. No, I shook my head. You were confident. You thought I'd never leave. That I'd stay like some desperate fool while you ran around behind my back. I stepped back, watching the desperation settle in her bones. You can drop the act, I said. You lost. Emma's breath hitched. Then, just as fast as the fake tears had come, they were gone. Her expression twisted into something ugly. Fine, she spat. You want a divorce? You'll get one. But don't think for a second I'm leaving empty-handed. I smirked. You already are. Because everything was already in motion. By the time the papers hit her hands, her name would be wiped from every account, every asset, every connection she thought she had control over. She thought she had played the perfect game. But I had rewritten the rules. And this? This was checkmate. Emma's face twisted in fury. She had spent years crafting her web of lies, manipulating me, using me, believing she was untouchable. But now she was realizing the truth. She had nothing left. I watched her hands clench into fists, her breathing sharp and uneven. You think you're smart, don't you? She spat. You think you've won? I smirked. No, Emma. I know I've won. Her nostrils flared. You can't just erase me, Liam. You think because you caught me cheating, you suddenly have all the power. I tilted my head. Caught? I let out a small chuckle. Emma, I let you dig your own grave. I held up my phone again. Another document, another nail in the coffin. The PI didn't just find out about Ray, I continued. Or the other men. Or the money. I let that last word linger. He found everything. Emma's confidence wavered, her weight shifting from one foot to the other. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. You remember when you co-signed on that condo 2 years ago? Her lips parted slightly. My smirk widened. Or how about the business investment you made last year? The one you lied about? Her throat bobbed in a nervous swallow. I know about the fraud, Emma. She flinched. That was it. The final blow. The affairs? That was just who she was. But this was criminal. She had stolen from me, yes. But she had also forged signatures, hidden transactions, and used other people's money to fuel her double life. She had gotten sloppy. And now it was too late. I placed the phone on the nightstand. By tomorrow morning, my lawyer will have everything. The accounts are frozen. The assets are locked. Your credit. I let out a short laugh. Let's just say, by the time I'm done, you'll be lucky to get approved for a library card. Emma's jaw tightened. She was losing control, and she knew it. You bastard. she hissed. You planned this. I shrugged. Took a page out of your book, sweetheart. Her hands trembled, but she refused to back down. You think I won't fight you? You think I'll just roll over and let you take everything? I leaned in, my voice cold and sharp. I don't think you will, Emma. I know you will. She let out a bitter laugh. And what makes you so sure? I grabbed my phone one last time, pressing play on one final recording. Not her voice this time, not Ray's, her boss. A conversation recorded 2 weeks ago, when I had started piecing things together. Yeah, I figured something was off with her. The voice crackled through the speaker. The numbers never added up. If what you're saying is true, then we're looking at a serious problem. Emma's breath hitched. I smiled. You're not just losing your marriage, Emma. You're losing your job. Her face went blank. By noon tomorrow, your entire career will be gone. Your reputation, shattered. And the best part, I let my smirk widen. You did it to yourself. For the first time, Emma had no words, no comebacks, no manipulations, just silence. And then the mask finally cracked. She screamed, a full, rage-filled, broken scream, her hands flying to the nearest object, a lamp, and hurling it at the wall. The crash echoed through the hotel room. I didn't flinch. I just watched as Emma, the woman who had spent years thinking she was untouchable, finally fell apart. She turned on me, breathing hard. You're a monster, she whispered. I tilted my head. No, Emma. You made me this way. Silence stretched between us, heavy, suffocating. And then, a knock at the door. Emma stiffened. I grinned. That'll be security. Her eyes darted to the entrance. You didn't think I'd do this without witnesses, did you? I chuckled. I told the front desk to expect noise. And given that you just threw a lamp, I'd say they have plenty of reason to come in. Panic flashed in her eyes. She wasn't worried about security. She was worried about what came next. The knock came again, firmer this time. I turned, grabbed my bag, and strode toward the door. Before I opened it, I glanced over my shoulder one last time. Emma stood frozen in the center of the wrecked room, her chest rising and falling in short, panicked breaths. She looked small, powerless, exactly how she had tried to make me feel. I opened the door. A hotel manager and 2 security guards stood outside. Everything all right here, sir? I smiled. Genuine. Free. Yeah, I said. I was just leaving, and I walked out, leaving Emma to deal with the mess she made. I walked out of that hotel room, leaving behind the wreckage of a woman who had once convinced herself she was untouchable. The hallway was quiet except for the murmurs of the hotel staff, security exchanging a few glances before stepping inside to deal with whatever Emma would throw next. But that wasn't my problem anymore. As I stepped into the elevator, I felt something I hadn't in years, relief. The weight pressing down on me for so long was gone. The betrayal, the anger, the sickening feeling of being played for a fool. It had all led to this moment. And I had won. My phone buzzed. A message from Jason. It's done. She's locked out of everything. I exhaled slowly, the tension in my chest unraveling. Emma wouldn't realize it yet, not fully. She'd still believe she had a chance, that she could somehow spin this, manipulate her way back into control. But by morning, she'd wake up to nothing. Her job? Gone. Her savings? Frozen. The life she had built on lies and deception? Crumbling before her eyes. As the elevator doors opened, I stepped out into the cool night air. The city was alive, neon lights flashing, cars speeding past. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was stepping into something new, my life without her. I walked toward my car, sliding into the driver's seat. My knuckles still ached from when I had put Ray on the floor. The memory of his gasping breaths, the crack of his ribs, the way his eyes had pleaded. It still burned in my mind. And I'd do it again. The bastard had the audacity to betray me in my own house, my own bed. And Emma? She had just stood there, rolling her eyes like I was the inconvenience, like I was the problem. Well, now she was the problem. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my emails. The divorce papers were already being finalized. Emma would get nothing. Not a dollar, not a house, not a chance to argue. She could fight all she wanted, but the evidence was stacked against her. The fraud alone would ruin her. I smirked. Poetic justice. My phone buzzed again, another message. This time, from an unknown number. You really think this is over? I stared at the screen, my smirk fading. Emma. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because it was over. She just didn't know it yet. I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat, started the car, and pulled onto the road. The city lights blurred past, the air crisp with the scent of rain. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking in the rearview mirror. I was looking forward. This was the end of Emma, and the beginning of me.